just so it's done.
Where do we see manage participants? Okay, got it.
Good thing is it's all on one browser rather than having to open up Google.
When a participant is anybody, or is it an organizer?
Participants, where do we see them chat?
No, I can. Yeah, well, I suppose so. Where do we see them chat?
The chat.
There's a chat box.
I think you have to go to YouTube to see the chat.
There's a Zoom group chat.
Oh, okay.
Everyone.
Okay, I wonder if that works.
I've got that open.
Welcome to everyone. Anyway, just as we still just wrestle a little bit with our new system. We're just looking through Zoom. I don't see that. Should we get down to some quick analysis? Maybe we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, mate. I'll have nothing at the start or the open.
Okay.
If you've got something, then you go. Otherwise, I can go anytime.
Okay, so nothing huge. I might even put a bit of webcam on. Let's see what this looks like. A bit of webcam today. You got your webcam?
Maybe. Hang on a second. I'll just put some clothes on. Video. Let's see what happens. Integrated camera.
Problem is it's
cannot start. Fail to start video. Please select another video camera in settings. Why? Don't know. Maybe my camera switched off.
All right. Well, if you've got the camera, we'll go with that as well. If not, no big deal. Now we've got 5 minutes before the UK Open, so let's have a quick look at this. I just want to get rid of that. So we are looking for a little bit of retracement right now in the FTSE 100, but this is a very, very dangerous place to be looking for longs at this stage. What I'm really after here is the market coming down and bouncing and coming back up and then giving me a reason to go short. I'd quite like a short at a double top, really. And at this stage, it's all technical, which is you know, makes it a little bit more tricky for me. You know, I need a reason on the whole to kind of get into what position and a direction that I want to take. And at this stage, I don't really have it, unfortunately. So it's all technical. We are at specific levels. We just failed here yesterday. We also have a wider pattern going on, which is this one here. When we drag from the high. That takes us to this. Takes us to this point here. Maybe even comes down a little bit further. So a little bit tricky to know exactly where it's going to stop. There's a few potential areas. There you are. There's a few potential areas that it could stop at. So I'm not sure if it's going to be here. Might be a little bit higher. In these scenarios, we do need to put up the fibs. There's no pivots in those particular areas. There is a fib here. Looks like the 50% retracement of last month's move is just where we currently sit. So, you know, there's enough technical reason to suggest that this could be an area that we could look for the short in. Yesterday we had Boris Johnson losing some pretty important votes. I think there's records being broken constantly right now. Theresa May broke a few, and you know, negative records really, and Boris Johnson's done the same, where he hasn't won any of his first 3 votes in Parliament, which is fairly unprecedented. Well, not fairly unprecedented. It is unprecedented. So a new prime minister would normally win one of those.
It's not a great start, is it? Fair income.
No, it's not a good start at all. And it looks like where he was able to dance around everybody else, he can't dance around the collective of Parliament. And he's been sacking his own Conservative Party members, Conservative Party MPs. You know, most famously, I think, is Winston Churchill's grandson is a Conservative MP and has been for 37 years, and he was sent a letter or a text saying that he would not be able to stand as a Conservative at the next election if he voted against the government, which he did so, and subsequently he's out. And also Ken Clarke, the father of the House, another Conservative, has also been given that same message. So he's not allowed to run as a Conservative, certainly not while Boris Johnson's in charge for the next election. And it looks like there could be an election looming as well. You know, Boris Johnson's trying to push that through. Jeremy Corbyn has been advised by the whole of his party not to go for an election unless there is an extension to Article 50. But in his arrogance, he is still mulling over the idea of whether he should have one. So it really, really fascinating and interesting times right now with everything that's going on. And I would suspect that we probably are in a situation that we should potentially be just sitting tight on everything. Now, where this comes back to the FTSE, of course, is that if the pound strengthens significantly, which it has over the last couple of days, as has just about everything else against the dollar recently. But looking at this pound, lovely morning star pattern here, so that suggests that there's going to be some more upside with the pound. So I am looking for some downside with the FTSE, and it's just a case of where to get in and what I need to see. And as I say, right now I can't justify it just yet. So I need to see some breakdown of this uptrend, or I need to see a retest of the highs and a fail of the highs, and I'm quite happy to then move to the downside. And the reason is that the bigger picture, i.e., this monthly chart, really is for downside. You know, the monthly chart broken this low down here. It comes back up again. Is this testing an area which could suggest a lower high? Looks like it to me. Around here, so it's still kind of in this area. Also looks like a head and shoulders pattern, or maybe even more ominously, it looks like a diamond pattern up here. You know, the whole business cycle thing is also quite key. This is the weekly chart. It reaches this high, straight back down again, creates this lower low. Now, are we looking for this kind of lower high scenario? Quite possibly. The other possible pattern I was looking at as well is to try and join these lower levels down here to give me exactly what the shape of this lower line is down here, and then be able to kind of like see where the top line might go to give us that head and shoulders pattern. So I think we could well be at the top of the top end of a right shoulder here, mate. So yes, I'm looking for shorts.
To me, I've got to say.
I beg your pardon?
It looks bearish to me, I've got to say.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? The big question is what's going to drive us down, and I haven't found that answer. You know, when we kind of look across the board, we got gold, which is continuing to attempt to push to the upside. So that in itself is quite a good sign in some respects, that people are still buying that protection. We also have.
Were we thinking about getting in this at 1,200? Some months and months ago.
Yes, absolutely.
We had a plan, but I can't remember what the plan was.
I can't remember the plan on that. No, we didn't pull the trigger on that one, which is fairly sad when we see that, isn't it?
Well, you know, there's a few trains left the station without me on board, mate. So this won't be the last one.
No. And you know, the good thing is we don't have to catch everyone as well. As long as we catch a few of them throughout the month, we're okay. This is the S&P.
I'll get my pension a discount. That's the best part.
This is the S&P here, mate, which, you know, same sort of thing. I'd like to see some weakness with the S&P, maybe even a shooting star by the end of the day would promote some downside, because the S&P looks fairly similar. You know, it looks like some sort of head and shoulders pattern up here, unable to break through these highs so far. It's broken out today, but can it hold above this level? There's just a little bit of pressure coming into play. And as always, I've got to ask the question. S&P is a bit clearer actually, where it's testing. So it's tested this level, now it's rejecting that level. But the big question for the S&P, and I think for any of these markets, is what is the driver? What's going to take us down from this particular position? And I just haven't found it as yet.
Not Parliament related, you don't think?
It could be, and it's really that. But my problem with that,
of course.
I beg your pardon?
And that's a guessing game, of course.
Yes, it is. And you know, my big problem with it being Parliament related is that if it's Parliament related, then that's not going to drag the S&P and the Dow with it. That's going to be probably FTSE 100 exclusive or fairly exclusive. And I want to see gold move up. I want to see S&P move down, Dow move down, NASDAQ move down, bonds effectively invert again. So we get some sort of yield inversion would be great. So the signals there right across the board would make me feel a lot more comfortable about a longer term short in the FTSE. But I don't think just having Parliament on my side and the pound strengthening will be enough. So I'd quite like to see some sort of worldwide issue with indices for me to really kind of be comfortable that I'll be selling the FTSE and holding.
As you say, it's hard to imagine what that might be.
Yeah, and it always is.
Although there's plenty of candidates, it's not as though there's no candidates out there.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's Hong Kong.
Moves first?
Yeah. There's we've still got the issue out in Hong Kong. We've got the FTSE 100 obviously with the pound. We've got the big one obviously is China. So China kind of coming into play as well. It could be a numbers thing, and talking of that, let's have a look at what we've got for the day.
NFP Eve today, of course.
NFP Eve. Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's bring it over here. So German factory orders from the Euro block negative 2.7%. That was at 7 a.m. this morning. Awful number, actually.
5.5% down on previous. That's not good.
No.
Not that it's major new. Wow, it's a fairly fickle number anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. By the looks of things, yeah, it looks like a fairly fickle number. Accentuated, I think, when things are bad. ADP non-farm employment change. Maybe we're not going to see any significant movement until that is released.
Do you think people take much notice of that? I mean, it's a red flag, but gee whiz, they seldom get it right in terms.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And
it's one of those numbers as well that it depends what else is in focus. Because we've seen some dollar weakness across the board. Gold, the Aussie, I noticed has had 3 days of absolutely stellar gains against the dollar. So we've had the Aussie, we've had
dollar index came off quite a substantial amount in the last 2 days. Absolutely.
Right. So I suppose with the dollar in focus and because of the next rate decision, I suppose is front and center and not that far away, then it would suggest that these numbers probably do play a bigger part. Right now, so we'll see. I am in agreement with you. ADP non-farm is, it's not one of those kind of, it's not one of those numbers that you really kind of, set your diary to.
That's right. You don't set an alarm and say, "Oh shit, I've got to get up for this one."
Yeah, but it could be a shorter term sort of spike one way or the other. I suppose if it backs up what's the bulls or bears of the day are after, then it may well play a part. But if it kind of goes against what the overall mood is, maybe it won't. So we got that. We got the ADP number out. What else have we got? Let me just get a bit closer there. We've got non-farm payrolls, crude in inventory. So that might be something that could affect WTI. Which we haven't talked about, actually, have we, WTI? I was going to say we haven't talked about it for a while, but we haven't talked about anything for a while.
Well, I was speaking about it yesterday, actually, in my little slingshot group. And I said I was expecting a CAD rally, based on an oil rally.
Okay.
That turned out to be rather crystal ballish. Didn't make any money out of it though.
Oh, it did. Okay, let's have a look at it. Because the FTSE's absolutely.
No, I didn't make any money out of it.
No. But you got the call right though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, let's have a look at that as well. Looks like Friday as well is a big day. So, but look at the FTSE, mate. It's coming down.
Ooh.
Coming down. Do you know what? I was tempted to take that FTSE this morning, and I reneged on making the decision because it wasn't a pattern that I was after. So let's see if I live to regret that. But what I'm really after now is a return up here and another failure. Because I would like some downside
with the pound at the moment.
I beg your pardon?
There's no correlation with the pound at the moment because it appears to be going with it.
Yeah, the pound.
Well, I'm only looking at the one I've got to trade on, so I'm not looking at the pound US dollar. And yeah, it's kind of sitting there doing.
It's not doing a lot, is it? You know, there's been a big move with the pound, and this is really important, I think, for me. Is I don't like trading FTSE 100 when I don't know why it's moving. Not that I don't trade it if I don't know why, but I don't enjoy it so much if I don't have a clue why it's going in the direction it's going. I mean, it could just be pure exhaustion. It could be just a bit of worry. It could be the fact that you know, we are hitting levels of resistance. But I kind of want to know when we see resistance, what will drive it down from that point, because it could just as easily stabilize and then go in the opposite direction, couldn't it? And that's a bit of an issue for me.
Oh hell yeah!
So you were pointing at, where are we at? Let me just bring up some WTI. You were pointing at this WTI. Now you were looking at a CAD rally. Is that right?
Yesterday, based on I thought that the oil price was at a very strong support level, and I expected to bounce off that level. Got that in spades, and of course the CAD had news yesterday. It was interest rates yesterday, or was it today, CAD? I can't remember.
Gosh, yeah, the CAD, yeah. Do you know what's fascinating here, mate? Is that bar, and we were talking about these bars. The bar, oh, actually, that's yesterday's bar, isn't it? But the bar on Tuesday was a pretty good signal bar for some downside. I know it was the same on Monday, but effectively didn't break the low, so no harm, no foul if you didn't get into that one. But the bar Tuesday, you know, whacked above the highs and then bang straight down. And when I look at this, bang goes your mangoes. And when I look at this against quite a few of these, same thing with the Aussie. You know, the bar on Tuesday was this lovely engulfing bar, and then yesterday we continued to the upside. We're attempting to break out here. Going down
again today. It's having a wave of good news, the Aussie, which tends me, you know what I'm like, it tends me to go the other way. I'm waiting for a retracement.
Yeah. Same with the.
In fact, I want to trade the retracement. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's have a look at that. But just really quickly, we got the dollar Swissy engulfing bar on Tuesday. So there were some really big signals, I think, right across the board. Let's have a look at gold on Tuesday. Gold on Tuesday was this bar. Maybe not so nice to trade, but it was certainly another indication that we were moving. And here's the bar on Tuesday with the pound. It was an absolute corker. Of a bar on Tuesday with a pound, and again,
don't be like that.
So it was the same with the euro. Actually, we picked this one out, didn't we, with the euro? I was saying that that it had a chance.
You were keen on that as a nice indicator, and it worked big time.
Yeah. So across the board, really, we did have some fairly good indication that the dollar was probably going to weaken, and it was just picking your weapon of choice. Now you're going to go through why the Aussie was a decent weapon of choice, right?
Well, I'm against the Aussie. I'm absolutely.
You're against the Aussie.
Yeah, but you know, it keeps getting good news. So there's nothing I can do about that. If the news keeps going, okay, I'm great, then that's exactly what the market's going to react to. And look, that's fine as long as I'm not in a short at the time. I don't give a toss. But if I look at, oh, you want to see my bloody ugly face, don't you? Hang on 2 seconds.
I want to see your video.
I can accommodate that. How do I do that? I've just lost my, oh, hang on, go up the top now. Yeah, right. Goes from the bottom to the top. There you go. Look at that.
No, you're looking kind of rap.
What's rap mean?
You know, you got like a rapper. You got like a hoodie top on.
I got the hoodie on.
Yeah. I'm a bit worried you might mug me.
No, I'll be okay, mate. I haven't had one wine yet, so I've got 2 more webinars after this one. I have to stay in the realms of sobriety until later tonight, sadly.
Not that everybody that wears a hoodie or that is a rapper is a mugger, by the way. Just it's just
yes, for those listening who are wearing hoodies currently.
Yeah,
we're not saying anything disparate against you. Don't worry about that.
No.
The good part about the Aussie is, as I said before, it just keeps copping good news, and every first week of the month is always about the Aussie, because it's interest rates, it's retail sales, it's GDP, it's blah, 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 blah. And every one of those numbers has been positive, which means that the Aussie's going to rally. And if it doesn't, holy dooly, isn't it in trouble? Again, you know, this candle here, eminently tradable. Not that it was one for me because I'm trading straight into the daily pivot. I've been hamstrung all week pretty much by my strategy, which doesn't allow me to trade into this resistance area. And bang, look at that, away she goes. And nothing's going to stop it at the moment because of that good news that keeps coming and coming and coming. The good part I like is that we're now at a resistance level that I think is relevant, and I'm now looking for a decent retracement. In fact, I want to trade that retracement. So what I need to see is probably something on a smaller time frame. That's the 4-hour chart. Something on a smaller time frame that gets me interested. And what would get me interested would be some sort of reversal pattern. This little bar here is not sufficient, I'm afraid, but it can drive price down to a support level, and the nearest support level is this one here. And if that were to happen and we got a little bounce off that and a lower high, then I get interested in trading it short. Why? Well, technically that's where I'm at. I'm at the top of a range and we're overextended on this currency pair. So I absolutely see a retest of that red line that you see on your chart, which is this daily trade line. I won't call it a trend line because it isn't. It's one of my little things. And for that reason, I think there's the opportunity to trade this short. Not necessarily against the dollar, however, because the dollar, as we know, is in super high fall. That doesn't kind of work. Let's call it semi-waterfall, shall we, over the last couple of days. It will bounce back too, don't worry about that, before it goes any shorter. So I think the better one for me is Aussie yen. And Aussie yen is in a very similar position where it's come to the top of this range that I've got on my chart that we've been in since, well, let's say a month ago. That the month of August has been spent in this range. And we've now broken to the high side, not for the first time, but for the second time. When I see such a thing, I think one of two things. Okay, we're going to take this high out, or we're going to do exactly what we did last time we got there, and that is come back inside the range and go to the bottom again. That's the nature of consolidation, and that's what I'm looking for all the time. That's exactly how I trade. So if I get priced back into here, in particular, if we come back below this red line, which is my little intraday trade line, and the monthly pivot, the daily pivot, if we break back below those, that's a major crash of support. And then I'll be looking for a lower high in this vicinity, and then you won't be able to stop me trading this short. In fact, I'll load up on that because I think it's a very, very good trade to take. Fundamentally, believe it or not, because the Aussie, and I'll go back to, I think I can share this chart. I'm not sure. Can you see that chart, Ash?
I can see Aussie yen at the minute I'm looking at.
Okay, so I've got to select, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've got to select which screen you see. Let me just do that. New share. Sounds like a stock market report. Gee whiz, many screens open. There we go. Pardon me. I had an almond just before we came on air, and that's tickling my throat. So we've got the month. Going back 1 month, that can't be right. That cannot be right. This must be month to date. Let me go to there. That can't be right either. Something's drastically wrong. If I go to a month of data and I'm seeing the Aussie as the strongest currency against the US dollar, that's BS. Something wrong with this. That is not true. I don't believe it for a second. However, that said, no, I don't believe it. Let me go to the quarter. That's kind of more like it. That's a true reflection. I'm going to go to this month again. I don't believe what I'm seeing. Okay, let me go back Aussie US dollar and see if I can disprove this very, very easily. So what this chart is telling me is that going back 1 month of data, the Aussie is the strongest currency versus the US dollar. That's what this chart is telling me. And let's compare that to the pound, shall we? And there's not much between them, but let me compare that. So Aussie US dollar, 1 month is absolutely flat. Going back 1 month, it's absolutely flat, if not weak. Depends on where you start the month. Now, let's say it's flat. The Aussie's absolutely flat, right? Versus the US dollar. There's no rally there at all. In fact, let's take a mean. I'll say flat. Cable, going back 1 month. Hang on a sec. Wow, charts are telling different stories. Yes, that's right. That chart's right. We've got a couple of days in the month, but I go to this chart and I see more. Because I'm on a bloody stupid daily chart. That's why. Okay. I'll get this right, guys. Okay, when I have a look at the pound and I go back a month, so into here, all I've got is falling. It doesn't make sense. I'm just about to disprove exactly what I thought was accurate. How good's that?
I think it's brilliant.
Well, the good part is I recognise it. The bad part is the chart's up to shit.
This is science, though, isn't it? That's science in the making, surely.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think I'm just about to kick this out the window and never come back to it again. I was actually using this as a guide, and what it's telling me is absolute BS. So I go back 1 month, and it's telling me the pound and the Aussie are absolutely flying against the US dollar. It's not true. It is not true. Month to date, maybe, but not over a month. Yeah, that bit I get. That's all good because the dollar's crashing in the last few days. So that makes sense. But I'm just about to give this the flick. In fact, I'm going to write to these people and tell them they need to fix up their bloody chart. I nearly swore them. See, that's better. The quarter's better. All right, I'm going to ditch this because I can't prove my point. In fact, I did prove my point that it's all BS.
Well, what were you trying to find?
Well, the point I was trying to find the fact that the pound was the strongest currency over the month against the US dollar, and the Aussie wasn't even in the picture. I certainly found the pound was the strongest currency, But then when I go back and have a look at the charts over 1 month of data, I actually see that the pound is off the buggery. So go back there.
Yeah.
If I have a look at the monthly chart, last month it was flat. If I have a look at the daily chart over a month of trading, right? So let's say we had yesterday's big bar. So we've got, let's say, 1/5 of a month in here. There's 1/5 of a month there. Okay, that now makes sense. Maybe it just depends on which chart you're on. Maybe I should do my homework before I open my mouth. Shut up, Ash. So I can actually see now why the pound reflects as a bull over the month. It has certainly done that. So we started here, let's say, relative to today, we started here and we've gone to here. Okay, it makes sense. Now let me go back to the Aussie and see if I can do the same on the daily chart. The Aussie, this little bit here, so go that little bit and come down. Right, we're looking at that day there. So at the end of the section, we opened this day here, we're finished up here. I get it. That's why the Aussie on that chart is now reflecting as the second best currency against the US dollar. That concerns me because it I nearly swore again, it stuffs up my analysis because my analysis is telling me that the Aussie is weak and the yen is strong. Certainly the yen has been strong historically over the last month or so. I don't think I need to go and tell anybody that story, but I'm backing the Aussie to fail against the yen. And that's the whole point of my exercise. But I'm going to have to go back and do a bit more homework on that because it looks as though they're pretty much equal over the past month. I don't think they're equal. Extend that back a little bit. So let's talk about the quarter now. Then certainly the yen is winning that race. So it's still valid what I'm saying. I think the yen is stronger than the Aussie, barring what news we've had over the past 3 days on the Aussie. And that, of course, has driven it up to this resistance level. So getting back to my entire point, I want to trade the Aussie short, for God's sake. And if it gets back below here and retests this level, I'm going short. Jesus, what a bloody exercise that was.
Do you know we were just on Finviz that whole time?
Really?
Yeah.
I've got to remember to change that, don't I?
So we couldn't see what levels you were at, but I get it. You had the you had the trend line, didn't you?
I had the trend line. I do. I still do. It's still there.
Yeah.
Now you should be able
there
to
we go.
the chart,
Yeah, we
right?
can see that. Yeah.
I've got to remember not to change the charts, but to change which chart I'm seeing. That's kind of reverse psychology to me. But yeah.
Yeah. So we are looking basically under the monthly pivot, right?
Yep, we're going to get back under here, then retest it, then we're away. That's happy days. Now, the Aussie CAD yesterday that I was talking about, we were doing exactly the same thing. We were waiting for this to hit the top of the resistance area, which is the top of the channel, and then look for a lower high. Well, look what we've got here right now. We've got a lower high, but look at the size of the bloody thing. It's like a walrus in context, not in terms of actual size.
Yeah.
Because it's only 35 odd, 40 odd pips. It's no big deal on a 4-hour chart. But you're trading straight into here, which is the monthly pivot, then the weekly pivot, without even 0.5 to 1 in terms of risk to reward. So it's not a good trade to take.
What happens there, Jeff, if you get this current 4-hourly bar closing on that trend line and actually just slightly above, so we get basically closes where it is now? Are we looking for a long?
No, because we've come back underneath this. So it becomes a very confusing signal for me.
Yeah.
If we were, as we have done, we've tested the daily pivot and bang on it, right? We closed bang on it after a rejection and a lower high. To me, that's a bearish signal. but I can't trade it because there's too much support in the way at way less than the risk that I'm going to take that trade, because I can't put my stop anywhere else but here. Minimum, that's got to be my stop. But realistically, you probably want it up there anyway. So it's just too tough. The reward's not there, or the potential reward's not there before you hit support. So there's no trade there for me. But that doesn't stop my bias being short. So I'll just go down a couple of time frames, maybe hourly, maybe 30-minute chart, and try and trade it on a different scenario. So if I've got a line up through here, maybe it's a little bit acute, I must say, but I may be able to use that as a break and retest of this confluence area. Then I can trade it short because I've got far more reward available to the risk that I would take. So that's kind of where I'm at. But that was kind of yesterday's news. I was looking for that to happen, but it happened very rapidly. Obviously on the, I guess it was interest rate announcement on the CAD anyway, but so too tough to trade. And that's kind of where the frustration lies at the moment. The analysis is not too difficult, but the execution and the entries are very, very difficult to find.
Right.
Unless you're in front of the charts, you know, at the right time, and find them on a 30-minute or hourly chart. And they're there. There's no question they're there, but I can't sit in front of the charts 24/7. It doesn't work. So yeah, one of those frustrating weeks where the analysis is good, but the market's just not playing ball at the right time.
Right.
It's very easy when you look back, isn't it, and say, "Well, wow, look at that. That was a great,
it always is. Yeah,
a great signal, great signal."
Yeah.
But you know, unless you're in front of the chart at the time.
What's that other one you're looking at there?
Right here. This is Euro Pound. Another one that I was keen on taking. You know,
no. What was the one that you've? Looks like you got some take profit lines on.
Pound Kiwi.
Pound Kiwi. Yep. Oh, okay. That one. Yeah, look at that. Lovely head and shoulders. That.
Yeah, but guess what? I want to trade the break of the shoulder.
Okay.
I don't want to trade the short.
Yeah.
But that said, maybe this is a good OCO actually. If I look at that head and shoulders, the neckline has already been, you know, really, really violated big time. So that makes it confusing for me. The one thing I take away from that is the neckline was broken, retested, but only got as far as the support level. So to me, the sellers aren't serious here. They're not in the game, and they're getting easily beaten up. So this, to me, or as ugly as it is a false break of this trend line. And now we're coming back to test it again. But I haven't.
It's a tricky one. You see,
I haven't got the kahunas to trade it from here.
Yeah.
I'm happy to trade it from here if it gets back above here.
Yeah.
Sorry, go. Yep.
No, I was going to say that from what I can see, and it's having to be it's having to move things around a little bit, but what I see is
I also see a bit of a flag here. It's a bull flag.
Yeah, so you got patterns within patterns. That to me is is probably the neckline.
Where I've got this, or down here.
Can you not see my screen?
I can have a little squiz and see if I can see your screen, but the answer currently is no.
You can't. Oh, okay. Well, here you go. How about now?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is where I see it. This is where I see the neckline. It misses this touch here, but it's the only place that it won't violate, because as you say, it violates it and it becomes really sloppy, doesn't it? But I think if we use this level, then there's that to me looks like probably the cleanest area for a neckline. As you say, it's a tricky one because even the shoulder is hard to know.
Yeah, which shoulder's which? Yeah.
Yeah, where it actually sort of starts and ends. This one's
maybe
a lot
the
cleaner.
Daily's a bit clearer than that. Go to the daily. Yeah, not really.
No, it doesn't give it.
A little bit more defined, and that puts emphasis on your neckline actually.
Yeah, I mean, if I put that if I put this neckline down here on a, it doesn't look too bad. It's not great.
Yeah,
Actually.
that makes a lot of sense. Yep. Interestingly, where you've got, or where you had that, is where well, that's my TP1 right about there.
Right. Yeah. Certainly a difficult one, and I don't know what's going on with the Kiwi, but you know, the way that things are today with the pound, it certainly looks like we would find some we're going to find some buyers out there with the pound. The FTSE 100 continues to drift to the downside, so it is suggesting at this this particular time that that is probably, anyway, from what I can gather, being driven by the strength in the pound, and it doesn't appear that the pound is going to come off all of a sudden with its strength. You know, the FTSE is.
Well, I suppose that depends what happens in Parliament today. They are sitting today, aren't they?
Yeah. There'll be the discussion about the general election. So if there's a general election, who knows? And this is the very, very difficult thing, because almost the general election kind of provides the people with a chance to vote for a non-Brexit party potentially. So maybe that helps things out. But it's also would possibly put Jeremy Corbyn into power with the Labour Party, and I don't think anybody's too keen on that economically. So we are in a bit of a sticky situation, you know, with the party of traditionally the party of business is kind of floundering and not giving us much option, but not to vote for them. But you know, this is where the Lib Dems or somebody like that is going to do quite well. They're going to do fairly well and pick up some votes, but it doesn't help the country's position, because if the Lib Dems do well, that means that Labour's going to have votes taken away from them, which means that the opposition party diminishes, which puts the Tories really in the front seat by default, because the rest of the votes are spread around. So difficult time for the country, I think. And
it's still a mess, isn't it? There's
yeah,
nothing has changed.
And it may well remain that way for the next year or so. It doesn't seem like there's a glimmer of hope anywhere. So we'll see what goes with that. But anyway, mate, I just thought I'd show you that neckline, so I will pass it back to you.
Okay, let me go here, and that's not the right screen. That's probably the right screen. Ready, set, go. Okay, so that's very near now to my. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Seem to have lost my little camera thing. That's not a bad thing. I'm sure everyone's relieved at that. What else did I have to talk about? Pound yen, not really. Pound US dollar, look, I think we've spoken enough about the pound. I need to see this retrace if I'm to trade cable, and it's got to come back, it's a fair way. I don't know that it will, because that's a massive bar. But I wonder, could I actually trade that? I don't think I could. Maybe I could. 40 odd pips there available. Let me rephrase that. If tomorrow I see this bar like hanging around about here somewhere, if we get a close down in this area, then I would be willing to trade that cable long. But I need to see that retracement, and I need to see that be what's the best case scenario? Best case scenario would be to retest the trade line here. But I'd accept the weekly pivot or the daily pivot or even the monthly pivot. And you can see how much support there is there. That would be pretty cool, actually, if we got that down to here. I think that would be a great place to re-enter. It'll be late. There's no question about that. And the best way to trade it would be from this level here. And that might be available on a smaller time frame, perhaps. Maybe, and I'm talking this area here. If we got back down to here, that would kind of put a rubber stamp on a false break of this trend line here. And that would therefore be my entry on a daily bar. But there's a far better entry probably available on a smaller time frame in this vicinity. So that's what I'd be looking for, an entry signal around here. But of course, price has got to get back there before we even contemplate that. The euro, I'm hungry to get short the euro. And I don't often say that. I'm pretty much a euro bull most often. But when I saw this candle here break this very long-term support area, and I know a lot of people won't consider that to be a support level, but it's operated as support too many times for me to ignore it. And I suppose same thing I said about the pound just now is relevant to the euro, in that if I were to see the retest of this, it's hard to see there because of all my lines, the retest of all these pivots, and indeed that broken support area, that's a strong level of resistance right now, as far as I'm concerned. And if I were to see that, I'd be looking for short in this area, but most definitely if it came back down to here. So I'm a euro bear, and fairly substantial euro bear, actually. As I said, I don't often say that, but I see that finally, and I've been watching this level for yonks and yonks and yonks, and finally it's broken through. But not only is it broken through, that's a big break. That's a very substantial break of that level. Not only is it that level, it's the, I guess, psychological number 110, which it also crashed through. That candle closed at 109.79. So it's a substantial break. And I'd be surprised if there's not further downside, and down to, as I've got it, 107.79 there. So there's a couple of hundred pips available if I can find a way in at this level. And that's what I'll be seeking to do. I might have to, I've got a very busy day tomorrow, but I'll certainly be having a look at the charts to see if I can find a way in. So let's summarize, mate. I'm looking for short Aussie yen, but only after it comes back below the pivots. Aussie dollar, not so much, but similar. Euro dollar, looking for a short after the test of those pivots. Cable, looking for a long after the test of that trade line. Pound yen, yeah, same as the above, back below these pivots and retests. Happy days. Pound Kiwi, I've already got an order in place above this bar here. My stop is just about on where the spike of this current bar is. I'm going to kind of rely on this trend line because I think it's going to take time to get back to here. Well, maybe it is, depends on what happens in Parliament, I suppose. But I'm kind of dependent on that trend line to add some support and the daily pivot if we do get taken into that trade. And finally, euro pounds. It's a nice bar that's forming right now, I've got to say, on the 4-hour chart. A nice rejection of the daily pivot. As it stands, that may or may not be enough for me. What else can I have a look at? Don't really have a trend line available to me, or a trade line maybe on the hourly chart. Come on. Ready, set. Oh, it's on the hourly chart. 4 hours is the one I'm after. Okay. Doesn't look as promising on the 4-hour, but yeah, if that would be to be a rejection of the daily pivot, I think it adds weight. I just can't trade short here. That's the problem, because I'm at dead set support. Yeah, it might be tough for me to get into this. Maybe a bit later. If I were to see a high here and a break, get back below this area here and retest it, then I can go short. That's kind of where I'm at, but I'm asking price to do a fair bit before that occurs. So, mate, not without thought process, not without opportunity, but it's a matter of waiting for those potential setups.
Yeah, I'm in the same place, mate. I've got FTSE 100, doing what I needed to do, in as much that it's moving to the downside, but I haven't got an entry as yet, and I suspect we're probably likely to see the bounce that I probably need before I get in. So I'm going to be doing the same. I'll just quickly show you very, very finely my screen, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So FTSE 100 comes down to this daily pivot, potential bounce point here. Could fall a little bit further to this monthly pivot. I don't really want to see that at first time of asking, because it makes the bounce to the upside a little bit trickier to catch. Just because I think that the downtrend and the bears will probably at that point have their sights on the FTSE moving further down in their zone. So where does it go back to? But what I quite like right now is that there's still a question about trend. You know, it could still be moving to the upside from this point. So the bull should still be able to take it up at least until this point here, which could potentially, you know, maybe it creates some sort of right shoulder. Maybe it goes right back to the start again and gives me something of a double top. So I want to move up just so I can sell this one off, and I'll sell it off and maybe take a bit of profit at this point, or maybe hedge in the opposite direction at that point, just to see how long I can stay in some downside. But that's the plan right now, mate. I'm looking for a short, but I need a better price. I don't think I could have justified, when I look at this, I don't think I could have justified getting in straight away. From what I gather, I think I'd have had to leave it because of the time of day, and I don't know what the catalyst is just yet. So, what would be my preference is if I can get a short for the US session, and see if the US can effectively give us some downside, to give us a proper trend and a genuine move lower. So that's the plan, mate. I'm just waiting for a short, but it's got to bounce from this particular point. I'd like some reason to get in short more than I have right now. But if I can't find it, then I'm going to have to assume that it might just be a speculative reason, you know, that people are looking at.
Mate, just briefly,
yeah.
Before we go, has Christine Lagarde taken over from Super Mario already?
No, I think Mario Draghi is still there. I think she's due to take over. Is it October? I think his last month is.
Yeah, I thought it was November when he was out, but
yeah.
I noticed today in Forex Factory that she is the speaker at the moment.
Okay. That is interesting.
But they're calling her president-elect. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there. That was
maybe that's.
Of course, she spoke. She spoke where she testified.
Maybe that's how the transition happens.
About her appointment at European Parliament in Brussels. Okay. Don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. Not to my knowledge, mate. That will become clear, I'm sure. So that's us, mate. That's us. So let's wrap it up for the week. And effectively, you are you've given us the list of what you're after. I'm after a short FTSE 100. I'd quite like it 30 or 40 pips above the price that we have now. So moving into this area here, or maybe even back to the highs, I wouldn't be too worried about that. But I am short FTSE 100. I'm just waiting for a better price and an entry at that point. And incidentally, if it does end up as a down day, then when we look on the daily chart, we might well have something which would suggest a much deeper move to the downside with this bar here. So let's see if we can get in short and see if we can get some development on this bar and see if the bar will really kind of give us some genuine negativity and see if we can ride a decent wave to the downside on the FTSE.
Right, mate. Happy days. Back on air. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Week 1 done. We were back, same trade time, same trade channel next Monday, and we had what was our other thing you came up with yesterday?
Yeah, I can't quite remember.
It was a good one.
That's like 24 hours ago.
It was a good one. Okay,
yeah, something like back at 5 to 8. That's the date, something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's something to it? Yeah, that was something like that. All right, well, we'll refine that. That's your one to work on, and we'll see how we go. All right, have a great day, guys. Have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll be back on Monday.
Hooroo.
See you later.